Hey besties, stop scrolling because what you think you're watching is not an apology, it's a warning sign. Cody Brown saying sorry is not about love, growth, or healing, it's about fear, control, and survival. And once you see what's really happening behind the scenes, you won't hear those words the same way again. Stay with me because this story flips everything you think you know on its head. Hey besties, welcome back, and before we go any further, let me say this clearly because this moment matters far more than people want to admit. Cody Brown apologizing to Robin is not a breakthrough, it is not growth, and it is definitely not a sudden awakening to accountability. What you are witnessing is a reaction to fear, and fear has always been the engine behind Cody's biggest emotional moves. For years, he operated under one assumption, that no matter how much chaos unfolded, no matter how many relationships burned, no matter how loudly the fractures echoed, there would always be one person left standing, and that person was Robin. She was the constant, the proof, the safety net, the living evidence that he could point to and say, "See, I am not the problem, someone stayed." And because she stayed, she became a given. And when someone becomes a given, they stop being pursued, they stop being protected, and they stop being handled with care. Cody did not apologize when Christine left. He did not apologize when Janelle emotionally withdrew. He did not apologize when Mary was isolated and sidelined. He did not apologize when his children expressed pain or distance, because during all of that, Robin was still there, anchoring his identity, validating his choices, and reinforcing his narrative. But something shifted, and that shift is the reason this apology exists. Robin is no longer reacting the same way she used to. She is quieter, slower, less eager to reassure, less willing to smooth over his emotional spirals, and Cody feels that change in his bones. Because Cody cannot tolerate emotional distance, he interprets it as loss of control, and loss of control is the one thing he fears more than criticism, more than public opinion, more than fractured relationships. Because control is how he survives emotionally. This apology did not come from reflection. It came from sensing that the last person he assumed would never leave might be pulling away. Not dramatically, not loudly, but quietly. And quietly is far more dangerous because quiet distance cannot be argued with. It cannot be yelled into submission. It cannot be guilted into compliance. It simply exists, and Cody panics when he cannot steer the emotional narrative. For years, Robin played the role of stabilizer, the emotional translator, the one who reframed his anger as stress, his rigidity as leadership, his defensiveness as hurt. She buffered him from the consequences of his own behavior and absorbed emotional labor that was never equally returned. But now she is tired, and exhaustion changes how apologies land. Because when someone is exhausted, they no longer hear intention, they hear pattern, and Robin knows the pattern. She has lived it. This apology is not about remorse, it is about preservation. Cody is trying to preserve the last version of himself that still works, the misunderstood patriarch, the man wronged by others, the leader who tried his best but was abandoned by those who would not follow. That story only holds if Robin stands beside him, validating it. The moment she steps back, even slightly, the illusion cracks, and Cody knows it. Because if Robin ever leaves, even emotionally, the shared denominator becomes impossible to ignore. It will no longer be 3 wives who failed him, it will be all of them, and that truth threatens everything he believes about himself. This apology is vague on purpose. It floats above specifics because specifics require ownership, and ownership requires change, and change has never been his strength. His pattern has always been reaction, reassurance, reset, repeat. And it worked, because there was always someone willing to carry the weight. But now there is only Robin, and she is no longer cushioning the impact. The emotional overflow that used to be distributed across multiple relationships now lands entirely on her shoulders, and she is feeling it. She did not enter this life to be alone with an isolated, angry, publicly scrutinized man. She entered a structure where comparison provided protection, where being favored did not require standing alone, and now that structure is gone. And without it, the relationship feels exposed, heavy, and unbalanced. Cody senses that imbalance and he's responding, not with transformation, but with strategy. The apology is designed to close the gap just enough to keep her engaged, to pause her detachment, to re-anchor her emotionally without demanding anything of himself that would require long-term discomfort. He is not apologizing for isolating her. He is not apologizing for making her the sole emotional caretaker. He is not apologizing for dragging her into every unresolved conflict. He is apologizing for the tension he feels, because tension means risk, and risk means loss, and loss means collapse. This is why the timing matters. Cody does not apologize when things are falling apart. He apologizes when they have already fallen, and he is trying to stop the last remaining piece from slipping away. This is not redemption. This is negotiation. And the negotiation is happening because, for the first time, Robin is no longer automatically centering him. She is listening instead of soothing, observing instead of defending, and that shift has destabilized him more than any argument ever could. This apology exists because Cody feels the balance of power moving, and he is trying to pull it back before it tips completely. And that is what makes this moment so revealing, because fear always exposes truth, and the truth here is simple. Cody is not apologizing because he understands. He is apologizing because he is afraid. What makes this second part even more telling is not the apology itself, but the reaction it quietly demands. Because Cody has always measured success in relationships by how quickly the other person softens, reassures, and recenters him. And when that does not happen, his discomfort grows because he does not know how to exist in emotional neutrality. Silence has never been safety for him. Silence means loss of influence. And that is why Robin's response matters more than his words. She is no longer rushing to stabilize him. She is no longer jumping in to frame his behavior more gently. She is no longer absorbing the emotional shockwaves of his frustration. And that pause, that hesitation, is what triggered this apology in the first place. Cody apologizes when the dynamic shifts, not when harm is done. And that pattern has been consistent across his relationships for years. When his wives expressed pain, he dismissed it. When his children expressed distance, he blamed them. When accountability was requested, he deflected. But when someone stopped needing him, stopped chasing his validation, stopped organizing their emotional world around his reactions, that is when the apology appears. Because apologies for Cody are not admissions, they're tools meant to restore equilibrium in his favor. This apology is intentionally non-specific because specificity creates obligation, and obligation creates expectation, and expectation would require follow-through, something he has historically avoided. The language is soft but empty, reflective but non-committal, designed to relieve pressure without restructuring anything underneath. It is emotional maintenance, not emotional repair. And Robin hears that difference now because she is no longer listening as a supporter, she is listening as a participant who has carried too much for too long. She knows this is not about love in the way love requires sacrifice, accountability, and growth. It is about survival, identity, and fear. Cody needs Robin symbolically as much as emotionally. She represents the last remaining evidence that he was chosen, that he was understood, that he was worthy of loyalty. Without her, his narrative collapses entirely, and he knows it. Because the audience has already shifted. The conversation is no longer about plural marriage dynamics. It is about his leadership, his choices, his accountability. And Robin has always been the buffer between him and that scrutiny. She softened his image, reframed his anger, and gave context to his behavior that made it easier to swallow. But even that role has a limit, and she has reached it. Exhaustion changes perception. Once someone is exhausted, they stop romanticizing effort and start measuring impact. And the impact of years spent stabilizing someone else while suppressing your own needs eventually becomes impossible to ignore. Robin is not reacting dramatically, she is reacting intelligently. She is conserving energy. She is observing patterns. She is deciding whether continued investment serves her well. And that is terrifying for someone like Cody because he thrives on emotional certainty. He needs to know where he stands. He needs reassurance that he is still central and admired. And when that reassurance is delayed, he spirals internally. This apology is an attempt to force resolution, to collapse uncertainty, to regain emotional footing before Robin fully disengages. Because once disengagement happens, it cannot be reversed with words alone. Cody understands this instinctually, even if he would never articulate it. He knows that loud conflict can be managed, but quiet detachments cannot. This is why the apology feels urgent but shallow, emotional but incomplete. It is designed to provoke reassurance, not introspection. And the fact that Robin is not immediately offering that reassurance is what gives this moment its weight. For the first time, the cycle is at risk of breaking. Apology, reassurance, reset, repeat has been the pattern. But now there is a pause, and that pause holds power. Because it forces Cody to confront something he has avoided for decades, which is the possibility that words are no longer enough, that vulnerability without accountability no longer persuades, and that admiration cannot be extracted, it must be earned. This apology is not meaningless, but it is loaded. It carries fear, strategy, and self-preservation wrapped in the language of regret. And Robin knows it. She has lived inside this dynamic long enough to recognize when an apology is about healing and when it is about control. She is no longer reacting out of obligation. She is responding out of awareness. And that awareness changes everything. Because if she continues to step back, if she continues to observe rather than soothe, the entire structure Cody has relied on begins to wobble. And he knows it. This is not the end of their story, but it is a turning point because for the first time, Cody is not the one dictating the emotional tempo, and that loss of control is exactly why this apology exists. Not because he finally understands the damage done, but because he senses that the last person anchoring his identity and his perception to the outside world may no longer be willing to prop up the illusions he has carefully maintained. This is why the apology emerges now, not before, not during the chaos, but after, when silence replaces conflict, when distance replaces confrontation, when emotional neutrality threatens to replace constant validation. And that timing tells us more about Cody's mindset than the words themselves. Because apologies from Cody have never been about acknowledging wrongdoing. They have always been about managing perception, controlling responses, and resetting dynamics in his favor. And Robin knows this. She has lived inside these dynamics long enough to see the difference between genuine remorse and strategic manipulation. And that knowledge gives her power, because she no longer accepts words at face value. She evaluates tone, she reads intention, she observes patterns, and she measures history against the present. And that shift in awareness creates tension, because Cody is suddenly facing a partner who does not automatically perform the labor he has relied on for decades. She is no longer a stabilizer, a buffer, a silent supporter. She is an observer, a participant, and that changes everything. Because Cody thrives on certainty, and when certainty is removed, when reactions are not automatic, when reassurance is delayed, his internal equilibrium is disturbed, and that disturbance manifests in the apology as urgency, not sincerity, as calculation, not growth, as pressure, not liberation. And that is exactly why the apology feels hollow. Even if it sounds soft, even if it seems emotional, even if it appears sincere to the casual observer, it is layered with intent, designed to provoke a response, to restore control, to anchor the narrative. Back in his favor, but Robin is not giving him the response he expects. She is measuring, she is calculating, she is deciding how much of herself she will continue to invest. And that decision is critical because the entire family narrative depends on her continued participation. Because Robin is the symbol. She has always been the living proof that he was chosen, that someone stayed, that the story he tells himself, that he is the misunderstood patriarch, the wronged husband, The leader who tried but was abandoned remains intact. But if she disengages emotionally, if she questions, if she steps back, that pillar collapses, and with it, the carefully curated narrative that Cody has relied on for decades. The apology is therefore not a confession, it is a lifeline, it is a reset button. It is a strategic maneuver designed to prevent the last fragment from slipping away. And that makes it incredibly revealing about the nature of their relationship, because it exposes the dependence Cody has on external validation, the reliance on emotional labor performed by others, the inability to engage in genuine accountability without immediate reassurance, and the pattern that has been repeated across multiple relationships over time. And Robin sees this. She recognizes the signs. She knows the timing. She understands the strategy. She has experienced the emotional manipulation, and she is not fooled. She weighs her own needs, her own energy, her own position, and that awareness transforms watching. And that is what makes this chapter so critical, so suspenseful, and so unmissable. Because this is not a simple apology. This is a test, a negotiation, and a revelation, all in one, and the outcome depends entirely on who holds the balance of power and who chooses to act with awareness. And that is why this story will keep you watching, because each word, each pause, each hesitation reveals layers of intent, history, and consequence that are more revealing than any statement Cody could make, and more revealing than the audience may be ready to confront. And in that layered space, Cody's fear is exposed, Robin's awareness is sharpened, and the stakes are amplified. And that is why the apology feels dramatic, suspenseful, and loaded with meaning, because it is not about healing, it is about control. It is not about love, it is about survival. It is not about growth, it is about leverage.